guys, today I'm here to do my labor and delivery story. I was going to put the camera on the tripod, but I have Piper sleeping over here and she keeps waking up. And so I'm gonna sit here in my chair and update you guys and let you guys know about my labor and delivery. We did put out a labor and delivery video, or a video for that day, so you guys got a good idea of how everything went down. But I wanted to give you guys like the time frames and let you guys know about everything that happened before I forget. And if you hear screaming in the background, Jane is screaming in her room playing and it's coming through on the monitor, so I apologize for that. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started and let you guys know about the day on July 5th. If you guys have been following me for a while, my labor and delivery went almost exactly like it did with Jackson. It's crazy how the body works, and it's crazy how each person's labor and delivery is different. Jane's was a lot different than Jackson and Piper's, but Jackson and Piper's was very similar. So I went in at 39 weeks and 2 days to be induced, and it was an elective induction. And I chose to do that for a few reasons. But the main one is that my labor went really fast with Jackson. And so they were a little bit worried that if I would go into labor on my own, I wouldn't make it to the hospital. So they felt good about inducing me. So that's what we did. So I had to go in at 7 a.m. Chris and I went into the hospital, and by the time they asked me like a million questions, I had to get into my robe. Oh man, my battery light's flashing. They asked me a million questions. They got me all hooked up to monitors and things like that. It was about 8 o'clock, and that's when they started the Pitocin. And Pitocin is what induces your labor. And so they did that through an IV. And at that point, I think I was like 2 centimeters. I think I was like 50% effaced or something. And my doctor actually thought that it would be a while. She didn't deliver me last time, but she was like, you know, this might take a while. Just call me a little bit later. She said that to the nurse, obviously. Pitocin got started and the contractions started picking up a little bit. She came in, the doctor came in and broke my water. That hurt really, really bad. I remember with Jane, it didn't really hurt. And I remember with Jackson, it hurt a little bit, but that's because he had a hard time breaking my water. This time it hurt so bad. It was terrible. So they broke my water, and I can't remember time frames for everything, but I know that it was around like 10-ish that my contractions were getting pretty intense, and we were kind of looking at them on the monitor, so we called in for the epidural. And also, if you guys haven't been following me, with Jane, the epidural did not work. They had to do it twice. And with Jackson, it took a long time for it to work. So I told them that when we got there. I was like, it might take a long time for my epidural to work, so I'd rather get it sooner than later. So the guy came in and did the epidural. That hurt too, which I don't remember. And it took a lot longer than I remember it taking as well. So that was a little bit painful, but I was glad to get that done because I'd rather deal with that than the contractions for sure. And then she brought me in a popsicle and I kind of just relaxed. She had me in some sort of sitting up position, which I've never done before. I didn't ask her why, but I just assumed they were trying to get Piper to come down quicker, maybe, I don't know. And at that point I was like 5 centimeters. It seemed like I was going pretty slow. And just so you guys know, Jackson was born at 12:56, I believe, so almost 1 p.m. and we had gone in at the same time around like 7 a.m. and gotten things started around 8. So my nurse seemed to think that I would go a lot faster, but as the day started going, it seemed like I was going slower. So we were kind of just sitting there relaxing, and the epidural seemed to work a little bit, but after about an hour, I was definitely feeling contractions again. And so she came in and she gave me more of the epidural. There's like a little button that you can push, and she was like, push this again in 5 minutes, and then in 15 minutes, if you're still feeling pain, let me know. And so I definitely was still feeling pain, but it wasn't unbearable. So I kept calling her in and telling her and kind of giving her updates, and we were kind of just waiting. And she told me later, she didn't tell me this when it was happening, but she told me later that she knew that my body was starting to go into fast labor when I was feeling the contractions during the epidural, or with the epidural. I guess if things start going really quickly and the epidural hasn't caught up quite yet, then you can start feeling the contractions again, which is probably what happened, because right around 12:15 or so, all of a sudden I was just sitting in the bed. Chris and I were chatting, talking. I was feeling the contractions a little bit, but like I said, they weren't unbearable, but I definitely felt them, and I was having them pretty regularly. All of a sudden, after one regular contraction, the next contraction definitely felt like I needed to push. So I got a little bit nervous because I wasn't quite ready, and I was like, oh, I think I need to push, but I didn't want to say anything. I said something to Chris, and he was like, well, call the nurse, call the nurse. I was like, no, let's wait till the next contraction to see if that's really what it was. And sure enough, the next contraction, I needed to push again. So I called her immediately. By the time she came to my room, I was definitely having to hold Piper in. I felt like my body was pushing on its own, it felt like. And so I said, I feel like I need to push. And she's like, well, let me check you. And as soon as she checked me, I could hear on the monitor, like this is nasty. She put her fingers in and she hit Piper's head, and I could hear it bump on Piper's head on the monitor. And she was like, oh, yep, you're right. And so she called my doctor, and she was like, call her on her cell phone. She needs to hurry up down here. And every contraction after that, I seriously was like squinting my eyes, trying my best to hold her in. I almost felt like I just needed to push her out right then. So that was very rough and hard. It didn't hurt or anything. It was just like my body was pushing her out. So my doctor came in and she was like, are you feeling like you need to push? Do you know when? And she looked at me and she was like, oh yeah, I can tell. So she came over and she was like, all right, on your next contraction, go ahead and push. And right when she said that, I was having a contraction. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna push. And she was like, okay. So I pushed. I took another deep breath, I pushed again, and she came out. So she was definitely trying to come out fast, and she was born at 12:29, so she definitely beat Jackson's birth by a few minutes. Like I said, she was born at 12:29, Jackson was born at 12:56. So like I said, they were pretty similar with how fast they went, pretty similar with the epidural and all that. She came out, and our hospital has new rules since Jackson was born. When Jackson was born, they put him on my chest for a little bit, then they took him over to the warmer and kind of cleaned him up and did all his vitals and things like that. But my hospital is changing up their policies, and this time they put Piper on my chest and just kept her there for 2 hours. We did skin to skin for 2 hours. She breastfed a little bit, and then they came in and cleaned her up after 2 hours. So we didn't know how much she weighed. She was still all really gunky and dirty, not dirty, but you know, all that stuff was on her for a good 2 hours. And we kind of just sat there and looked at her and loved on her, and that was a very special time. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, then they came in and did her vitals and all that. We weighed her. She weighed 8 pounds even, and she was 20 inches long. And at that point, we were kind of just waiting for me to be able to feel my legs again. And they can't move me to a postpartum room until I can walk to the bathroom on my own and go to the bathroom on my own. So it was about another hour until I could do that. And so we did that, and then we got transferred to our postpartum room, which was a very small room compared to last time. Last time we had a corner room, so we had a lot more space. But that's okay, it was just a little bit different. Oh, I did want to say Piper was born face up. So normally babies are born face down. So Piper had bruising all over her face, mainly like around her mouth. And she has a few spots on her eyes. And she also has some broken blood vessels in her eyes. And the bruising has gone, the broken blood vessels are still there, but the nurses were really worried at first that she wasn't getting enough oxygen, and that's why she was all purple. So they kept taking her oxygen levels, which kept coming back at 100%. So they realized that it was just bruising from coming out really fast and head up. So not only was she face up, but she also came out really, really fast. And so they said that was part of the reason that she was bruised. So that was a little bit sad to see her, and she was really swollen too, compared to Jane and Jackson when they were born. They weren't as swollen. So at that point, the rest of the day we kind of just got breastfeeding down, and obviously they kept coming in and checking on her and checking on me. My mom and my dad and my grandma came to visit, and then Mimi and Pawpaw and Jane and Jackson came to meet her, which was awesome. And then we kind of just hung out from there. The labor and delivery went very well. I was very nervous that it wouldn't, just because Jane's and Jackson's went so well. So I was like, I hope, you know, this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I've, you know, tested, or I've used all my luck up and something bad might happen. I just had a feeling that something bad might happen, but it didn't, and everything went well. I'm healing up good. I'll probably do a postpartum update as well soon, so be on the lookout for that. But that's basically how everything went. It just went so fast. We got there at 7 a.m. She was born right before 1 p.m. And then we were in our postpartum room around like 3 or 4. And kind of just went from there. We went home the very next day around 3 p.m. And we've kind of just been hanging out and getting used to being a family of 5. But I hope you guys liked this video. Here, let's see. There she is. She has a full head of dark hair, and if you guys don't know, Jackson and Jane both had dark hair as well. Well, my battery died, but I was done with the video. I just wanted to say I hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Like I said, I'll be back with a postpartum update and also Piper's 1 month update soon. So be on the lookout for all those videos, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!